How great would it be to get up close and personal with the beauty industry heroes we love and admire, and to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? I'm Chris Baran, a hairstylist and educator for 40 plus years, and I'm inviting all our heroes to chat and share the secrets of their success. Well, welcome to another episode of Headcases. And I have to say this gentleman is a repeat offender, meaning it's been repeated performances that he's had on Headcases. And he was a co-founder of Summit Salon Center. He brings to the table 40 plus years of experience as a stylist, a manager, executive chain director, and multiple salon owner. For 35 plus years, he's been the founder and president of Salon Development Corporation, which is an international company specializing in salon business training. Previously sponsored by L'Oreal USA, he is a global business educator, salon innovator, and world-renowned recipient of numerous awards for his contributions in helping tens of thousands of salon professionals transform their business and their personal lives. The key to his success is his unique ability to observe current and future digital marketing and management trends and translate them into systems and methods by which salons achieve dramatic growth. I'm so blessed to have this gentleman on as an esteemed guest. He is a teacher of teachers, a mentor, and most importantly, a friend. So let's get into this week's Headcase. Mr. Michael Cole. Michael Cole, we have to stop this because it seems the only time we're really talking is at business or here on Headcases. So firstly, welcome back. You are one of the very few that we do return auditions with in here or return engagements with. But as the industry knows, it's everybody wants to hear Michael Cole. So Michael, welcome. It is such an honor to have you back here.
It's always sacred to be with you and be in your presence. I always love thinking out loud with you, geeking out. I've yet to have time in your presence where there's great insight that comes that serves me. So thank you. It's always wonderful to do that.
Absolutely pleasure. And the feeling is mutual. And one of these times, I've always had this thought where I'd love to get Mary, and a lot of the ladies that, do their amazing stuff, and they're the ones that are really behind and helping to support and do everything that they need to do for all the people that are industry. And I'd love to get Mary and a lot of other people that support all of us. I mean, Rita probably would say, I'm not going on. But just to, give them the limelight that they deserve. Oh, my
goodness. Yeah, we get way too much credit for what they do. That's why they're our soulmates.
Yeah. Well, so I want to just jump. So catch me up. There's this. I always love, and this is not a gossip column, but there's always that rumor mill that runs around, and you always say you sneeze on the West Coast and you wipe it up in the East. But there is this rumor going around that you are retired, semi-retired, that you are no longer with Summit. So catch us up. What's going on with you?
Yes, and, right? It's all true, and after 25 extraordinary years with Summit and Summit's partner, L'Oreal, Redken, the brands. It is nothing short of a glorious, glorious ride. So that came to an end in retirement, and I had sold my interest and had an interest in 3 schools. PCI, as you know, that's a very big client of both Summit and L'Oreal's, particularly Redken. And I owned a piece of that. And so when I retired and sold out, it gave me, I did a pledge to not compete for a few years. And I've been since then showing up every day at PCI working exclusively with the educators and the coaches, and helping them to do a better job at what we call I used to say with Summit, growing people for a living. Now we're transforming students for a living, and those that educate and coach students, being the educators and coaches as well. So that, in a nutshell, is what I've been up to. And Chris, my confession to you is, in my 40 plus years of doing what you do, I never have had the opportunity to show up as much with the same community of people over. I think I was, as we were kind of catching up, I'm going to do my 227th 1-hour session with a group of educators.
Wow. The same ones.
The same ones.
Yeah.
So, and you and I, as good as it gets, I don't know, in a good run, 8, 9 sessions over a couple of years. This is every week for 227. So you cannot not learn, incubate, develop, inspire. And so that's what I've been up to. And it's younging me down. I almost look as young as you do.
Well, I hope they have a better influence on that than making. I mean, if anybody's watching this, just the bags under my eyes alone, is that I don't have to take as much luggage in the airplanes anymore. But listen, regardless of, they always say number, but you've always been youthful. Your quest for new information has always inspired me. Your quest for growth and your quest for finding it, and sometimes it's just the way you find a new twist. Now, what I want to jump to is two things. I don't want to try and give you too much at once, because at our age, I always say, as we're male, so we can multitask as long as we're doing one thing at a time.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to the point is that the word transformation, because I think it means so much to so many, and sometimes it's become a catchphrase even now. So I'd like to find out, number one, what that word means to you and how you'd like to frame it for people, number one. And then number two is you're talking with educators, right? And
yes.
They're educators of students. You've had a chance to do and see them in action. And how different is there a difference you see between what those educators need to do with the students, the educators need to do versus what we have been teaching on the road with educators that are teaching people behind chairs, et cetera? Give me some take. What's your insights that you've got from those 227?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the easy one first, and that is that in a school, you've always had those two parts. You've got the pay your tuition and come to school and get prepped for going to a state board and getting licensed, et cetera. And then you've always had this other thing over here called the salon part. In some schools, they'll call it a clinic. At PCI, it's the salon, the spa. And they're two different entities, and yet they coexist. I'm working on the salon spa end, and it if you didn't know, there are many times you walk around, you listen, you go, you wouldn't know that you're in a school, that it's
right.
There are some nuance differences, and that is students are paying a tuition to learn, but it's as close as you can get. And as somebody
Thank God,
like you,
right?
Yeah,
Thank God.
Thank God. And so I couldn't have said that to you because I didn't have the awareness 3 years ago that I do now. So that's one of the things. And that works. That works for me because, like you, I grew up in the salon world. And then number two, transformation is a very key, very important word to me now. TLC. And in other contexts, tender loving care. And wherever you go in the beauty industry today, sometimes it's under the auspice of mental health awareness. But all of a sudden, the industry seems to be, we're looking for some humanity to bring into, the business. So that people have well-being, mental health, whatever you want to call it. I call it TLC. Tender loving care, but when we kind of bring it down, transformational learning coaching, transformational life, career. But the word transformation is an important word to me, and I give it. That's what's wonderful when you're a teacher. You can create a hybrid definition that works for you. I've always been like you.
Yeah.
We're teachers and we want to create language. So my definition of transformation is what I call either a growth by subtraction. Sometimes we would even call it addition by subtraction, and the key word is subtract. That we're subtracting something from people that seem to be getting in the way of this very sacred energy in us that we call it potential, because potential sounds practical. There's a lot of potential in people that are unlimited, but potential is, I call potential our yet to be. More importantly, our greatest yet to be discovered, developed. Let's get more of that to come out. Well, why wouldn't it be coming out now? What if something was blocking our potential?
Yeah.
And those blocks are basically patterns that we develop going through life. And those patterns aren't good. Those patterns aren't bad. They're human.
Yeah.
Some of those patterns they serve us. And then sometimes a pattern after a while can get a little bit aged and get in the way. Subtraction means I'm going to wake up, become aware of, is there a pattern in me that might be getting in the way of more of my yet to be to get discovered and developed? And if you're going to make me aware of it, please don't shame me. Don't judge me.
Yes, yeah,
is there a way that I can enter that awareness without judgment? And then once you wake me up to it, can you engage me in some practice, some methods, mindsets and methods that might help me to subtract that, reduce it, decrease it, so that more of my yet to be comes out? And as that new yet to be forms, oh my God, I'm adding on to me in a different way.
Yeah.
So that, in a nutshell, is how I think about in the language I give to transformation.
Well, you know what I love about you is you always have these, what I would call little golden nuggets that you come out with, like subtraction from. And even when you said that, in my brain, I'm going, it's represented by, in mathematics, not that I was really good at it when I was in school, by a negative sign.
Yes.
But when you were talking about it, that addition by extraction or by subtraction, is that sometimes if somebody's got a negative thing that's going on, you've got to pull them out. And it's interesting, we were just talking about that today, about that the universe abhors a vacuum. So if you pull something negative out of somebody, and then you can put back in the piece that was missing. So in other words, I'm pulling out bad habit, I'm pulling out an improper mindset, and then giving them the tool that gives them the correct way, so that they're becoming whole, they're becoming better. I just think that's an amazing part of what we do, and you've always had that gift for being able to take a very complex subject and simplify it into a nugget, which I love.
Thank you. Yeah, we've geeked out about this before. The essence, I think, of true simplicity.
Yeah.
I should say the essence of genius is simplicity. The ability to take something that at face value looks overwhelming, it looks scary, it looks complex, and relanguage. Now I'm codify it, put it in a simple model that it looks less difficult, that there's a simplicity in it, and it looks compelling. Just the idea that I can have an awareness of something in me that's getting in my way, and I can have that awareness without feeling judged, shamed, embarrassed, humiliated. That's a pretty radical idea.
Yeah. Well, especially that that's shame and guilt has been built into our school systems.
Yes.
It's been built into, and I always say that people train the way they were taught, and if you were taught with shame and guilt involved, unintentionally you're building it into what you do. And the moment that you can take that out of your repertoire, because when you were talking, because I wrote down the words motivation versus inspiration. And I think that you can like fear is a motivator.
Yes.
It's not a real good one, and it doesn't last really long.
Yes.
Versus what you can do to inspire. Now, I'm not saying motivation is bad, but what I do say is that, and I hope people that are listening don't take this wrong, because there's so many people that will say, I'm a motivational speaker. And I would say, oh, that's too bad. Because motivation is a very short time, but, Michael, you've always inspired people, and I think that's the difference is you can motivate, but that doesn't mean you're going to move them forward. But you inspire them to be able to move forward and actually have the knowledge, number one, to do it. Number two is they don't feel shamed and feel guilt. And it's like, it's a good boy, here's a treat. It's a good girl, here's the treat, and you'll always perform and for the reward.
Yeah. No, I'm loving the conversation because that's where I live, showing up every day. That this is the language, and we are engaged in a conversation now with our faculty about that distinction between motivate and inspire. I would call it the difference. One of my words is to entice, not sell. Not motivate, but to entice. And a very practical example of this is in school. The students, it's not uncommon at all that a student, there's fear around setting goals.
Yeah.
So the idea that, I didn't come to school to do that. I just want to come here and, put in my hours in this. And so that when I get my state board and get my license, but I'm not into the goal thing. And there's a whole narrative around that. I don't want to go into that now. But the idea that one of our slogans in TLC is that one of the potentials in goal setting is that if it's done right, it entices us to become something that we might not become if we didn't have a goal to seek. And sometimes I'll even say it entices us to become what we would need to become to achieve the goal. So an example, something, retail, service, whatever it is, that setting that goal, if I engage, it enticed me, whether I hit the goal or not, did I become anything?
Yeah.
Well, yes, I became more confident. I became more courageous. I became a little bit more organized and focused. And that becoming, that quality, the development of that potential, I'm going to take that with me in the next, you're working with somebody that's 19, 20 years old. I'm going to take that with me for the next half a century of my life.
Yeah.
So you that's an enticement where somebody would go, oh, wow, can you say that again? Because I've never had no one's ever told me about that, about goal setting, and it entices me. And all of a sudden 2 minutes ago, I didn't want to have anything to do with it because I missed my goal and somebody yelled at me and, this or that. But you gave me another mindset. You gave me another take, a healthy narrative on that, and boom, goes to dynamite.
Yeah. And, while I take my hat off to you, especially talking to, we spend so much time with either our age group or people that are just down a couple scales on age-wise. But we all know that it's if you're getting out of your age group, like me as a baby boomer, I'm just going to say me, and talking to a 19-year-old, they see you as different. You came from a different tribe, a different era, etc. And I I remember just a while back, and we were coaching someone, and we were talking about goal setting, and I remember one person in particular got very, very standoffish, just like you were talking about, the fingers crossed, the X pattern. I don't want anything to do with that. And after I felt a little, how would you say, defeated because, what I was talking about didn't go over that well. And then I was talking to a business coach, and they said, why don't you substitute the word goal with want? Mm-hmm. What do you want? And I went, yeah, this pretty much means the same thing. What do you mean by that? And this person said, what happens to people if they're goal setting or they've never done it, or if they have done it and something has happened in the past where they didn't get their goal, they put all of the emotion that they had on the failure that they didn't have the goal, and it becomes about the past.
Yeah.
Or it becomes about the future. I don't want to think that far down the road. But she said, what do you want makes it present, makes it right now.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about what you're telling those kids, where you switch them from future or past into now, present, right now. Me as a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
I just think that's just sensational. I bet we have something in common. I have this love-hate relationship. I hate paying for something that I'm not using. I hate working in a small, cramped box. Yet, I love working in a cool salon that impresses my clients, and I love the culture and synergy of a team while enjoying the freedom of being my own boss. You too? What if all that was available to you at the salon you rent from? Meet Artist on Go, a game-changing way to rent salon space. With Artist on Go, you only pay for the time you're behind the chair. You can choose a salon that fits your vibe, location, and amenities. With Artist on Go, you're a part of a stylist community, not hustling alone. Plus, you get to enjoy perks like clean towels and back bar supplies. Check out Artist on Go, built for stylists serious about their clients and growing their brand without the hassles of managing a space. Here's the kicker. You can save more than 50% on your rent. To find out more, go to bit.ly/artistongocb. That's bit.ly/artistongocb. Sensational.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm listening to you. So that we all know, I have virtually no contact with students. All of my contact are with educators. And to your point, an educator is 24, 25 years old, 30 years old, because when somebody that's 19 or 20 sees somebody that's 25 or 30, and depending on how much presence that coach shows up with, I hope I can be like that when I grow up. Mm-hmm. But I don't want them to see me because I'm older than probably their grandfather.
Yeah.
Right. But as I work with a 25, 30-year-old coach and I listen to the language, somebody that's 25, I was just interviewed her the other day, and she said, to somebody that's 20, you went from 15 to 20. Oh, yeah. When I was 15, I was in the ninth grade. And now I'm 20. I'm 2 years out of high school. And she said, your coach went from 15 to 20. So we both went through the 5 years. I'm 25. I went from 20 to 25. You're at 20, about to go to 25. What's your point? They're both 5 years.
Yeah.
So the same 5 years but I'm here to tell you, you are going to live, how she put it, and I just love it, you're going to live more life in the next 5 than you did the other 5. And she called it life lived. You're going to, if what happened to me happens to you, you're going to live 15 years of life in the next 5. And if you want, while we're hanging out, we can have that conversation. And all of a sudden, this 20-year-old is going, like, she knows she's a few months into getting a life, and she's already intuitively figuring out, I'm not in Kansas anymore. Yeah, I'm not in high school. I'm not, so there's a lot. And so all of a sudden, I see two people dancing. The other thing I want to say, and then I want to get your take on it, is 5 years ago, 10 years ago, coaching one-on-ones is not front page news. We've been playing with that now a while. But when you ask a coach 5 years ago, when you sit down to coach someone and you spend a half hour, an hour, what percentage of your time is really going into coaching, goal setting on retail to, the person that you're coaching is a little bit upset today, and we need to talk about that issue because it's getting in the way. Yeah. You asked that 5 years ago, prior to COVID, I don't know, 90% of it's coaching. We just got to the 10%. Yeah, we got to stop the process and see if we can get to today. You ask that same question, they're going, "Oh, are you kidding?" 90% of my time is I got people in front of me. They can't see my lips move because they're stressed. They're looking for, mental health awareness now has become a watchword. Yeah. So when I took on the mantle 3 years ago, it was like, oh boy, I'm not at a loss for learning, some new right answers to help stabilize that and then get that back to where people can be truly productive and enriched without exploiting them, loving them. Yeah. So anyway, I hope that made sense to you.
Absolutely. I want to, there's not often that you and I disagree on anything. And I only want to say with all love and respect that I disagree with just one thing that you said, is that they don't want the part that I agree with is if you're walking around and nobody's seen you or knows you, they're going to see you and I as a grandpa, probably older than their grandpa, and they'll go, yeah, whatever. But I think once they know you, once they've seen all the stuff, if they're following you on your site and they're seeing the nuggets that you have, to me, the numbers, the wrinkles, the gray hair floats away and you become an equal.
Oh, I agree.
And not until that happens. So I certainly don't want anybody ever saying that Michael Cole is seen as anything but that.
And I was talking to somebody at Pivot Point the other day, and they were talking about you, they were talking about me, and they said, you're seen as a legacy hero. Yeah. They used the word legacy. But you're a couple of genres or so ahead. So to your point, there's a difference between being a Jedi and being Yoda. Mm-hmm. So and I watch every year Chris Camp, and I'm seeing educator Jedis going to Yoda. We're talking metaphor here, and then it's interesting because the 20-year-old, once they've interacted with the Jedi, they're going, okay, who's your teacher? Mm. So every now and then, you'll do a drive-by where all of a sudden you have a class of, iGens, Gen Zs, and I'll say something. And I just showed up on a Zoom a couple of days ago. They were graduating from fundamentals, going on the floor, and I did 15 minutes with them and tried to honor their teacher. Yeah. And just that they love you, and it's an honor to be with you and them, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you for saying that. That kind of cleaned it up. I was being a bit cute on myself.
Yeah, well, and that's we always have to be a little self-deprecating. You said an interesting word there, and that sparked a thought when you said drive-by, and you talked about coaching, and I think if there's a couple of things that I've learned, especially since COVID, especially since our Gen Zs have got involved in our business and start to take it over, is if you can mix those two things, because I think that when we talk about coaching, they think of sit down, and it should be. You should have some sit down one-on-one time, but I keep telling people, keep it brief. They shouldn't be long, arduous meetings. You shouldn't be shamed. It should be factual. But then
Yes.
I talk to people about, if you're going to be an accountability partner, you need to have, I call them drive-bys, coaching drive-bys. So you do your coaching and you help to set your goals, your wants, and all of those things in your meetings. But that's not where you should do your catch-ups. Because they always say, we just want a 5-minute meeting, and they go in the office. Then that sets a different tone. But if you do a drive-by, you're doing a cup of coffee, or you're just having a walk down the hallway and going to whatever staff room, break room, and Michael would walk by me as a new kid that he just coached and said, hey, Chris, tell me how it's going. You had set this XYZ of a goal and a want, or what you want to do by the end of the week. How's it going? Oh, good, I did it. Great, give me a high five. I'm not quite there.
Yeah.
Well, what do you need to do? Okay, well, I need to do XYZ. Okay, great, awesome. Give me a high five. And just, drive-bys that no matter whether they're something they accomplished or didn't do, it's still a celebration at the end of it. So, and I think that way, I don't care of your age group, but people respond to rewards. And the more that we reward people, and I'm not saying reward them for doing stuff wrong, reward them for what the decision they made of how to move the needle forward if they didn't do something.
I love what you're pointing to. I want to share with you what came up as a result of you talking to me. What you used the word drive-by. I call it check-in. Just checking in, and whether it's I'm good to go. Our one of our coaches give me a thumbs up if you're good to go, and then if there is something that's in the way, let's chat. But to make sure, I think the art of coaching today is, if you're going to help somebody navigate something that's disturbing them, and you're going to teach them a principle on how to navigate that, make sure that you take and show them how they can use that same principle to navigate the achievement of something that pertains to why they're there.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't look like you're in a clinic, or you're doing therapy, or we never ever forget where we're at, and it is a business. So I think the art of this is, if it's a principle that's going to help you to navigate something personal, let's get that out of the way, and then take that same principle and get back to the task, the business. That takes some rigor, and that I've had the time over the last 3 years to, okay, how's that work? What's the language? Let's get granular about that process.
I would one day love if I could get in Michael Cole's brain after you had a conversation, and I know you well enough to know, I've seen you in action. I've seen you when we've had our mass meetings together. And I saw everybody else, and I'm just talking about you the other day, and I use this analogy as I sitting in this room, and we're trying to figure out our code of honor, and everybody was just stand up immediately, and they'd talk about the first thing that came to their brain. And then I remember where I was sitting, and you were sitting like literally about 3 feet away from me at a different table, just side by each. And I watched you go through and let everybody talk, and then I would see at the very end, your hand would go up, and then the person leading would say, Michael. And you would stop for a second, and then you would come up with this summation of what would happen, and everybody would go, oh, yeah, that's it. And that's why I'd love one day, if I could only get in your brain to see what your brain does, or what you ruminate over, to take all of those thoughts and put them together, and then come out and espouse this incredible piece of information. Now, I'm not saying that as a platitude to you. I say that as I watched you over years, and you have this way of taking everything, put it into a little summary, and then letting everybody else know what that was, and everybody goes, yeah, I agree with that.
Well, we will. I'll give you a 1 minute answer on that, because again, that's why I love listening to you. You always inspire. You invoke something that comes up. There's a quote by one of the great teachers of the past. In between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is the power to choose the response. And in that choice is our growth. There's something to that effect. First of all, I'm very moved by that. That is worthy of a lot more reflection than we have time. But Michael Coleized it that in between when I get triggered and when I react, there's a space. So some people, most people, there is no space. The trigger and the reaction are like conjoined twins. And if there's a space, I'm going through that damn thing like going through a red light unseen. But there is a space. And to me, that space is the awareness. So awareness is just the space between the two. And if I can just have a little bit of time in that space while I'm listening to people, something comes up in me from that space, and I'll know when it does, because there's like this visceral, it's like, oh my God, that's what people call the OMG. And I'll go with that. And more times than not, it's close enough to the bullseye that it's useful. So people go, how come you listen? How come you're always the last to speak, or what are you doing? What's your trick? And it's I'm staying in the space as I'm listening to you, knowing that if I stay in that space long enough and I'm not thinking, you're going to say something that's going to invoke and inspire something in me that might be useful to both of us. So there you go. That's my secret sauce.
I remember, I don't know if this was the time when it become ingrained in you, but I remember, God, like it's 100 years ago.
We go back to the 90s. I think I met you at Redken while first training with together in 95. Blair's
I remember
singer
you, and I think somewhere in here, I still have, I gave you all of us these tapes that we could play in our Walkman and listen to. And our whole family would listen to them in the car when we were going on holidays. My son is producing this right now, and he's listening in the background. I know he'll agree. And I remember the time when you talked to our whole group. I'm not going to go into the long recitation, but you talked about quiet mind. And you talked about how that there's this space in your brain if all you're thinking about is all the clutter. And what I got from what you just said was when you talked about the trigger, and then like we all know people have agendas, whether that's to be right, to be heard, to be comfortable, whatever. But you get this response, this visceral, like you called it, visceral response. It's going to come out right away. And that's where sometimes harm can be done. And if you just wait, and I keep hearing you say that, just wait. And in that quiet mind, it would allow your brain to calm down and to be able to take the information and then weight it. Should it be said? Should it be said?
Yeah.
What's my response and what it should be rather than reacting?
My word now, it used to be wait. Now it's pause.
Pause.
Living in the pause. And I've turned pause into an acronym of PAUSE: practice, awareness, which is basically staying in the space until seeing emerges. Well, all of a sudden you're seeing something that you didn't see a nanosecond ago. And more times than not, as we get skilled at my class is calling it, Michael, you do more than pause. You pause with purpose. You're pausing with the purpose of seeing something that will serve other people. And you've been doing it. You're like a Jedi at pausing. And I'm going, yes, it is a skill, and it's a skill worth developing. And when you've developed it, you bring a presence into a conversation that does something to that conversation and people in it that wouldn't be done. And you go, but how'd you do that? Pause. And you practice awareness until seeing emerges. And it's again, the essence of ingenious is simplicity. How do you simplify the complex?
Yeah. You know what's going through my brain right now is, does this take everybody years and maturity to figure out, or is this something that when we tell people, like, do they have to go through the crap that we had to sling through before sometimes it makes sense?
Yeah, well, just some. Yeah, sometimes we just have to, the self-imposed crisis that kind of beats us into a state of willingness. Sure, doesn't necessarily mean. What came to my mind is I listened. If a handful of my coaches were here from PCI, the educators, they would go, "Oh my God, are you kidding? I've been part of this group for 3 months, and we come for an hour a week, and this has changed me in some way, shape, or form." I'm able to do something with students, get to a place with my students that I wasn't before. But the gift with purchase is when I go home tonight, there's a presence that comes home with me that seems to be serving my family. And I wasn't here for 227 meetings. This is only my 14th session because I was hired 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So it can be. I'm really committed to the notion that we can, to some degree, collapse time, where people can get to these places sooner with the right TLC than they would otherwise.
Yeah, and you know what? Therein, to bring us back to the beginning, lies the transformation. Because what you're talking about, what we're talking about here, is not coaching skills. It's not it's a life skill. These are all life skills that we go through. So,
transformational life and career. Life.
I've got copious notes here. I don't know what the word copious means, but it makes me sound really cool. But
it's wonderful. I just love talking to you. Yeah, this is great.
And I heard us talk about, we're transforming people for a living and for growth. We talked about the TLC, the transforming, about the life and the caring. I loved the growing through subtraction.
Subtraction, yeah.
Yeah. And the yet to be's, because we always talk about potentials, but it's such a broad word that yet to be is, if it could happen tomorrow, it might happen in a few weeks or a few years, but it's the potential that we have. And I loved how you talked about, if you can coach without shame and guilt, because I think that's been rampant in our industry. And Michael, I wish we had 2 more hours to talk. I want you back on again. I think we need to talk more about this, and I want to talk to you a little bit more about this, about how we can do this. And I just want to say this for right now. I just want to thank you so much. But before we kind of wrap this up, if people want to talk to you, get a hold of you, learn from you, whatever, how can they do that?
Yeah.
Where should they go?
Right now, a very simple, safe way, because I want to keep my commitment to my previous partners, Summit. And again, thank you, Summit, and thank you, L'Oreal, and thank you, Redken. The ride was nothing short of glorious. But to hang out, something simple is I have a page, a community page on Instagram, Michael Cole Inspires. And it's really a labor of love. I do these little 1-minute reels of the stuff that we're talking about here. Yeah. That's and what makes it, I think, ingenious is it's safe and it's simple. So love to have people there, and I get DMs all the time, and I answer them all. It's become a labor of love.
Yeah. Well, I think that I've heard one of my coaches say that people will respond to coaching, but they will respond even more to the coach. But what they respond most to is the responsibility to community. So I think the fact that you have a community that Michael Cole, and I want to say that again, Michael Cole Inspires. I was on there again just before we talked, and I saw your nuggets on there, and I highly encourage everybody to go there. If you don't go on Michael's and follow him, then you are missing out. So, Michael, you've been a friend. Well, let me start it in order. You were a teacher to me. You were a mentor to me. You've helped me grow, as you have done with thousands of others. And but what I find that I cherish most is yours and Mary's friendship that I've had. So I just want to say thank you so much for giving up your time and being with us here.
Thank you. You are, and anytime I'm with you, I learn. But you've taught me a whole bunch over the years about. You're going to forget more about how to facilitate in a way where your learners have mind-blowing experiences. I mean, so I'm always taking notes when I'm in your presence as well. So, and your content is chock full of timeless wisdom. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. And in the meantime, we must get to the next time in Minneapolis area. We're gonna break bread.
I'm gonna hold you to your promise.
All right. Thank you, bud.
All right. Thank
Cheers.
you, Chris. Cheers.
Thanks again for watching this episode. And if you liked what you heard, remember to smash that like or follow button, depending on your preferred platform. And make sure to share it with anyone you know that might be a fellow Headcase. Headcases is produced by Cut Action Media, with Marjorie Phillips doing the planning parts, Lee Baran on the video bits, and Adrian Taverner mixing the audio jazz.